Greetings, love buds. This is Angel with Love Enlightens, here to share a message of love to enlighten your soul. It is the fourth Thursday, and we are coming back again with our special guest, Chermel Williams, who is a licensed marriage family therapist. And we're going to be just talking openly and candidly like we have been before. Hello, Afrospora Academy. All right, thank you for being here. It's a blessing to have you in the house. Talking about self-love. You must have shown up because you want more self-love, right? We want to love ourselves more. We're going to have more peace, more joy, more contentment. And those are the things that really do help us to become better, stronger, more fulfilled, and to have more contentment. And when we have those things in our life, we can actually accomplish more, and that's going to help facilitate more joy. So, do you agree? I do. I'm waiting for our special guest, Chermel Williams, and I thank you for being here. I'm going to put on a little mood music, if you don't mind. Oh, we also will be having a very nice giveaway today. We are going to be giving away one of our shirts that say Expression Beats Depression, like the one I am wearing here. Okay, I did a little creative stuff with it, but that's all up to you, if however you want to do your t-shirt. Alrighty. This is Chermel Williams, y'all, and this is her book, Self-Love, a guide for self-love. And I'm going to spend some time in this. I also wrote an article yesterday, and I put it online on the website, on the blog, so you can see and read about my perspective on self-love and what also is going to be contributing to this conversation of treating ourselves as though we have mine was like, I'm talking about domestic violence. I'm beating myself up all the time. I have to be much more conscientious of that. Here is Chermel Williams. Hello, Chermel. Let me wave back at you. All right, and get you here in the room. All right, let me see. How do I do this again? Invite to join Chermel. Uh-oh, it doesn't look like she's here. The invitation is out. Let's see how this works. Okay. Our God is great. Thank you. Hi, Chermel.
Hello.
How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Just got back from a walk with my little dog, and so I'm feeling a little refreshed and got some self-care in for myself.
Nice.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm trying to get myself together over here with all this technology.
Oh, I understand it.
Yeah.
I understand it.
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Had a meeting this morning with Lauren Patterson for the podcast Show Up in Love,
Mm-hmm.
and was a guest speaker there on her podcast, and it's going to be coming out later in the month of September. And we had a really great conversation about showing up in love and sharing love enlightens.
Nice. That's good. So,
Yeah, thank you.
so was it live or was it recorded?
No, it was a recording. So
Okay.
it's a podcast, and so she'll do the editing or whatever she has to do, and then she'll be airing it. It's expected to air September 20th, September 19th or September 20th. So I'll get a firmer date a little later on when she knows better. So I'm excited.
That's,
I'm excited. It's a great opportunity for Love Enlightens.
yeah. So yeah, I'll be looking for that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And just before you got on, I was sharing how I have your guide for self-love. Congratulations, Jamil.
Yes.
Yeah, how you feeling about it?
I feel good. I feel good. I mean, I feel invigorated. Hi Amanda. I feel inspired to just to continue. There's so yeah, it was definitely like a booster and it's joy. I feel joy and invigorated behind it. Hmm.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
As,
Thank you
as
for
I was,
supporting. I appreciate it.
oh yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Hmm.
My pleasure. We have to do that for one another. And you have content, you share content on here that is helpful.
Hmm.
And I really like that. And when I read your intro, you said, like, this is just something I'm going to have to start being like Oprah, reading the book and getting my highlights ready in my interview. In your book, you said, yes, yes, yes. Let me get my Oprah on right now. Yes. He said that self-love has become such a vital pillar. It has become such a vital pillar for me, so much that I aspire to encourage anyone I encounter to engage in the practice of self-love.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's one of my life missions,
Mhm.
is to do that. And it doesn't always have to be like through content or through words. I think
I,
sometimes it can just be based upon how I live my life. You know what I mean? That's also important too, to just be that demonstration of self-love. And so, yeah, I really do, because it's changed my life tremendously. It really has. It's allowed me to see life, experience me, see me in a whole different light. And so, yeah, it's just, I encourage any and everybody. Hello, Miss Blue Rain.
yes,
Welcome.
that's
Thank you for
Casey
joining.
Jones. Yes, thank you, Kate. Before I added you on, I was talking and sharing how um, self-love helps us to be able to basically accomplish more, because as we love ourselves, we're feeding into ourselves and giving ourselves love, then we have much more joy, peace, and contentment.
Hmm.
And those things help us to foster being able to accomplish more of the other tasks and more tangible tasks that we might want to do or otherwise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I think, I mean, think about it. If we are going around kind of being critical and judgmental to other people, how would
Mhm.
that, be beneficial for them to experience all of that, what you just talked about, right? Like,
Mhm.
if we
Right.
were just, if we can remove ourselves, but see ourselves being that way towards somebody else, how would that benefit them? Like, would that really benefit them in such a way that they would be able to experience those things that you just talked about, right?
Mhm.
I don't think so, right? Like, if I were just to tell you, Angel, like, oh my gosh, you really suck, or you should have did better, than what you did, or like, that
Yeah.
wasn't good enough, if I'm
Yeah.
constantly telling you those things, that's not
Mhm.
be helpful for you to experience those things you talked about, right? So
Right.
we understand this from the perspective of other people. Well, not everybody, right? 'Cause
Mhm.
there are some people who kind of speak to people that way. Let's just be real, right?
Right. Right. Right.
But we understand that when it comes to other people, but when it comes to ourselves and how critical and judgmental we are on ourselves, I think it's much more harder for us to see the negative impact that it has on us, right? And all of the
Yes.
things that it kind of prevents us from being able to experience.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I was going to share this later, but I feel led to share it now. Is that I wrote a blog post yesterday called "Self Love: Stop the Domestic Violence,"
Mm-hmm.
and in there I share how I was basically had so much on my mind, and I really wasn't being present. I was very anxious, and in that time I was just being extremely critical of myself. Every little thing I did, it was just, you didn't do this, you should have done this, da, 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 da. And then I just told myself, there was this awareness during that time where I just said, stop the domestic violence. I said, I'm beating up on myself so much that I don't need nobody else to. I wouldn't speak to somebody else in that way. I would be more gentle. I would be more kind. And it allowed me to see that what I needed for myself was grace.
Yes.
And as I am able to give grace to myself, then I'm able to show up and provide it or give that to someone else. But going out, you know, it's kind of interesting too. She say that, you know, giving to other people or speaking to other people in that way. You know, the honesty that we have within ourselves. So I was able to experience having more of a shift in saying, I need grace, so this is going to help me to give more grace. But it was so important to me to realize how I had been so hard on myself and just, frankly, quite ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're not alone. I mean, I think there's a majority that, you know, engage the same way, you know, myself included, you know, and it's not something that we do just because, but really it, you know, with most things, it starts like a lot of our inner critic is developed as, you know, as a child, you know, not all, but, you know, a nice majority of it does. And so it tends to be like a learned behavior. It's just something that we kind of pick up, and subconsciously, you know, we develop it, you know. And you use that word awareness, you know, and that's so key. It's like, unless you have that awareness, you know, you will never know. And I think that's why it's important for us to talk about these things, to bring about the awareness, right? And the thing that for me that sticks out is, you know, self-love is often used, it's used a lot, right? But I think it's in proper context. You know, I talk about it in my book, you know, really giving a definition, because I think definitions, when you define something, it gives it more clarity, right? And so what does self-love mean? Because I actually think that when people are saying self-love, they really mean self-care. Right? Okay. And there is a difference between the two. You can't engage in self-love without self-care, but you can do self-care without engaging in self-love. Okay. That's good. So, yeah. And so I think, you know, just really being able to draw that line of distinction between the two, so that we have that awareness, so then we can focus more on really engaging in self-love. That's your baby? I'm going to turn my light on too. I don't know why.
She's older. She is very spirited. Okay. Don't get me wrong, but she's not able to jump up on things like she normally does. So she kind of just fell, and that got my attention.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Say hi to the people, Coco.
Hi.
Okay. There she goes. Okay.
Hi, Margaret of Noble Kind.
Yes. Yeah. She says, hi, Coco. Yeah, she's terrorized her house, too. She's not watching TV right now. She's trying to be the TV. But that's okay. So we have, you were saying, you can engage in self-care without engaging in self-love, right?
You can.
Can you expound a little bit more on that and those the
differences,
the differences? Yes.
Yeah. So when you think about self-care is kind of like those things that we do to kind of, you know, woosah, to kind of make us feel good, right? So, we get our hair done, we get our nail, we go to the spa, we may, do some sort of relaxation, we may engage in some sort of creative activity, hang out with your friends, those are all things that those are considered self-care acts, right? But self-love is really just embracing who you are and really appreciating your self-worth and your self-value, right? So what that looks like is understanding that you are human, that you are flawed, that you're going to make mistakes, and you don't speak to yourself in a domestic violence way, like you said, right? But you be kind to yourself. You acknowledge, the same way that you would love. So I'm sure you've been in a relationship where maybe somebody has had flaws, right? Whether it's romantic or whether it's family, right? But we tend to look past those things, right? But we still love those people, right? It's the same way. We should be able to recognize that we are flawed and that we have flaws, but still be able to treat ourselves as if we're worthy, as if we're valued, right? But most times when we see ourselves as flawed and we see ourselves as not perfect or what have you, we engage in all this negative self-talk, right? So that's the difference. And so when you think about self-love, self-love is not just doing the self-care things that's a part of it. Like, you want to be able to engage in some of those activities, but you also want to be able to accept and embody yourself as who you are, who you were created to be, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's the difference. And so what happens is we're doing a lot of self-care activities. Oh, I'm going to the spa and this, that, but yet and still, you're still kind of being super critical towards yourself. You're still seeing yourself as worthy and valued, right? And really, when people start to really, and I had to recognize this for myself, because I started really doing more of the self-care, because the self-care is a temporal thing, right? It feels good in the moment, right? So, and then I'm like, okay, how can I want to feel like this more and more. So I would do more things, more self-care activities, trying to feel that void of love, until I realize that no, it's not just self-care. There's an actual act of me needing to love myself and accepting myself exactly as who I am. In the book, I talk about even that. So even if we accept ourselves as we are, if we have flaws or we haven't, there's areas of improvement or what have you, self-love doesn't mean that you don't hold yourself accountable, you know what I mean, to try to strive to do better and be better in certain areas, right? It doesn't mean that you don't hold yourself accountable. It just means that you just don't talk to yourself in a horrible way, right?
It reminds me of how last month we talked about compassionate communication. And we spoke of it, externally, but now I feel like it's coming back around where it's like, this is a part of how we talk to ourselves. And really actually saying, self-love it goes into identifying love and how we speak of love, what we really think of love. And that's something in 11 lines we're going to be going more into. How do we really think of love? What expectations do we have of love? Are we loving the way we expect to receive love? Because love is it's a verb and it's a noun. So it's something you can give and receive, or it's something that is. So in that, we have to think too, is this an action or is this something that is? And the way we love is action, an action that is. Action that is in terms of towards ourselves. So I wrote in the blog post reference to Galatians 6:1 from the Bible. It talks about restore one in a spirit of gentleness.
Mm-hmm.
And that spirit, I always thought about that before externals. And when you talk about your brother or something, but then that comes that triangle of loving God, self, and one another.
Mm-hmm.
And if I restore someone with the spirit of gentleness, it's like how Key said, you can't give away what you don't possess.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, newbies to the line. Thank you for being here. So with that, with knowing how, I did not have to know how to restore myself
Mm-hmm.
in the spirit of gentleness.
Mm.
And so at that time, as I was going through that, I said, it's okay. Once I realized I was doing that, I said, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. You returned something that you really actually wanted to get the money.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not there. It's not the clerk's fault that she put it back on the floor. It's nobody's fault or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. What can I glean from this now? And what I was able to take from that was that I was really being hard on myself, speaking to myself that in a way that was saying I was unworthy or you're stupid or, being really hard on myself. And that was not pleasant whatsoever.
Yeah.
So in that, it is also
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to shift, to do something new,
Mm-hmm.
what I call exercising faith.
Mm-hmm.
Let your fight the good fight of faith. So when you hear something like that, you hear and you say, Lord, you have made me fearfully and wonderfully made.
Mm-hmm.
I thank you, Lord, for making me fearfully and wonderfully made. I thank you, God, that you have enough grace given unto me. Your grace flows to me. I flow and I receive that grace from the crown of my head to the toes of my feet. Pour on me, Lord, saturate me with your grace so that we will be transformed. And the former man will be behind. I will stand in the light and the newness of who I am now. I'm going forward and speak well of myself
Mm-hmm.
and look to be and speak well of others too. And that is the exercising of all of these different components
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to faith and what I like to call spiritual emotional wellness.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So yeah, speaking kind to yourself, self-love, self-compassion, I think those two can be more interchangeable than
Mm-hmm.
self-love and self-care, right? Because self-compassion kind of falls along the lines, speaking kind to yourself, just showing appreciation,
Mm-hmm.
for self as opposed to, being self-critical, self-judgmental, right? So
Right.
self-compassion um, can also be considered a form of self-love. And I loved how you said, love can be, when we think about love, I think action, most times we think action, it's a something that you do, right? But you mentioned be, right? And so like we are, for those that have Christian faith, and believe, God is love, right? And so if we were created in his image and in his likeness, then guess what? That means that we are love too, right?
That's right.
And so self-love, I talk about that too. It's like, when you engage in self-love, then you're able to live what I call well, right? Because you're living out who you were created to be. You're actually embodying like love. That's who you are at your core, right? And so when you do that, you're able to kind of live well. And living well means that you're not striving to do, right? To be accepted, to be loved, but you're more so striving to just be. To be loved. And from being able to accept yourself as love, then from that place are you able to do, right? But I think we have it backwards. We're so purpose driven. We want to find out, what are we supposed to be doing? I want to find my purpose. I want to find what I'm supposed to be doing. And I like to say that if you don't know who you are, how do you know what you're supposed to do, right? Like, so we should be focusing more on learning how to just be our most authentic self, you know. Who are we, and being able to be accepting of that, and from that place then we find out what we're to do. Because I really feel like, I don't know about you, but I know me, I can, if you give me something, I can do it, right? I'm the kind of person, if you give me instructions, I can do it. You know, I get things done.
Yeah.
But I like to say, just because I can do it doesn't mean that I should do it, right? And everybody right now, I think, is so focused on finding purpose and, you know, getting a dollar. You know, how can I make the next dollar or whatever. I spoke about this before. You know, like I remember being on TikTok and I was looking for somebody had told me to go over to TikTok. I really don't do TikTok that much because I feel like it's a vacuum and it sucks you in. But I went over to TikTok because I was trying to explore how to build business credit, right? And so somebody had suggested I go over there. And when I tell you, there was so many people on there that was selling all of these classes, you know, they're business credit coaches, right? And I was flooded with, I was inundated, because I guess when you search, it just starts sending you all of, you know, basically. So I was inundated, and I'm like, wow, like everybody is a business credit coach. Like, and so I actually started doing my own research. I was like, you know, it's too much. Who do you trust? You know, I don't want to be giving my money just to any and everybody. Who do you trust? I did my own research, and come to find out, you don't need a business credit coach to build your business credit. All you need to do is have a legitimate business, open up a business bank account, and get a business bank credit card, and that builds your credit. And I'm just like,
use it and pay it on time.
You know what I'm saying? But there are people out there selling courses. They're doing things because they've been allowed to, but they're not even in their lane, right? That may not even be the lane that they're supposed to be in. And I just, you know, and I feel like if we were more in tune with being authentic, being ourselves, then we won't be trying to do what the next man or the next woman is doing, but we'll really focus on what is my purpose, right? What is actually my purpose, and staying in lane. And I feel like if everybody was really focused, really in their lane, the world would be such a better place, you know. But you got people in lanes that they don't have, you know. It's like driving, right? When you driving, it's like you got
don't
people
be
in this lane, people, you know,
I'm talking mind their lane. Your lane is your business, my lane is my business. Okay, my lane. That's what we need to do here. I think it was interesting what you were saying before about, you know, engaging in self-care, that it is not, and you can correct me, it is not, or were you saying that is? Because a lot of people do see, like, I see when I take my time out to go walking, that is an act of self-love.
That's a self-care.
You know, a self-care. Well, it is self-care, but I feel like it's also, I love myself enough to take out time to get in these 20 minutes so that I can feed my body, so my body can be renewed, right? I'll tell you where I feel like self-care really was for me is what I found that I like to do puzzles. Self-care for me, doing a puzzle is really great self-care because it takes my mind out of whatever is going on, and I focus on certain things, certain small tactile things, right? Matching, and it becomes really involved. And during that time while I'm working on the jigsaw puzzle, I'm getting these lessons from God. You know, I notice I'm like trying to force two pieces together and say, back up, stop. The pieces will fall into place just naturally when they just, and I have these times where I celebrate. Yay, I got a piece together. Good, where's the next one? And I'm on to the next because it's so fulfilling. I get these rewards really fast. You know? But I do feel like when I take my walks, that's an act of love towards myself.
Mm-hmm.
When I choose to eat less sugar, because I
Mm-hmm.
realize I have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
sugar in my diet.
Mm-hmm.
Then I feel like that is an act of love towards myself. That is
Yeah.
caring for myself,
Mm-hmm.
but I do consider like this is an act of self-love.
So that supports how I said you self-care, and you can't self-love without self-care, right? So
Okay.
doing so it is an act of self-love
Mhm.
by doing an act of self-care, right? So
Mhm.
but
Okay.
self-care, you can do that and still, but because self-love is more than that. Self-love is more than doing these acts because it makes you feel good or it's good for you. Self-love also is just showing appreciation for your worth and your value. So you can do that even just by you don't even have to uh engage in I guess it differs for everybody, right? So walking is it does something different for you than it may do for me, right?
Right.
But yes, so that's why I said you can't self-love, you have to have self-care activities to be able to demonstrate the self-love. But you can just be walking and doing self-care, but you're still not appreciating and valuing yourself internally, right? Because then
Right.
there's these thoughts about like the inner critic that we talk about, right? Like, or
Mhm.
being negative and being harsh on yourself, and sometimes even comparison. If you're comparing yourself to somebody else, that's not really loving yourself. It's not really appreciating your worth and your value,
Yes.
because again, we're created in the image and likeness of God. Everything that he created was good, right? So you're good, I'm good, and
That's
just,
right.
you know what I mean? Just in that, just because we exist, you know what I mean? Just in our mere existence, we should be able to love ourselves. And again, I want to reiterate, that doesn't mean that it takes away the responsibility for you to want to improve and to be what's the word I want to say, accountable, and things like that, to try to improve
Mhm.
areas. But just your mere existence is your love. You're a gift to the world. I'm a
Yeah.
gift, you
Yeah.
know? And that's how I
Yeah.
have to see myself, is I am literally a gift. And when you think about a gift is not meant, everybody doesn't appreciate the same gift, right? And I think what we end up doing is we try to show up as a gift to
Mm.
satisfy everybody.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
you just got to show up and just be you as the gift that you are, and whoever is wants to accept it or
Right.
appreciates it, then that's it. But you don't go trying to change yourself you
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think that's real good. And what I'm also hearing you say is that, or what I'm hearing is that there's the more we practice loving ourselves and being ourselves, is the more we will be actualizing the authentic life,
Yeah.
and also creating the safety that we desire to have, safety with ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
with other people.
Yes.
It's huge.
And
Yeah.
it starts with us. And I can speak for my own self. When I really started honing in, because I feel like I've always engaged in self-care. Like I've been really good about that. But
Okay.
when I started engaging in self-love, like accepting me,
Mm.
really just
Got
accepting me, that's when I was able to kind of show up and extend that same love to other people, right?
got it.
And
Yeah.
this is where I think somebody on here said, you really can't give what you can't possess, right?
Mhm.
And if we don't engage in self, because I noticed before, I used to, and my kids can tell you, I used to be super critical and judgmental, you know. um but that was a reflection of, how I treated myself. I was extremely critical and judgmental
Yeah.
on myself. But now I'm able to see people from a different perspective and a different light, and not be as judgmental, and just be like, okay, well, that's them, you know what I mean? And extend that grace and that compassion,
Yes.
for people to kind of just, to be, instead
To
of
be.
just being super critical and super judgmental. And
Yeah.
and if I can just even be a little more honest about my ability to self-love too, it
Yes.
really it takes, and I talk about it in the book, you want to surround yourself around people who support you and love you, right? And so you
Yeah.
and I were in a group, a coaching group, and one of
Mm-hmm.
our coach, I actually, she poured so much love into me that I was able then to even crack open my Pandora box to see that I was even worth cracking that box open. But it was her love that allowed me
Wow.
to open up myself to begin to see me and to
Yeah.
start love on me. And so now I can do it to others. And it's really just that simple. And the Bible
Mm-hmm.
tells us, like, we have one commandment: just love. Just
Mm-hmm.
love. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And if we can just get that,
Yeah.
then we ain't got to do nothing else. If
The
we can just
greatest.
show up in
Mm-hmm.
love, in our most
That's
authentic
right.
and organic self,
That's right.
you know what I mean?
I
Um,
do.
yeah, and then and so yeah, I don't know. I just whew.
I feel like love is in the core and the source of, like, in our bellies, and you can feel it like it's a root,
Yes,
to the truth.
yes,
And that's why people say intuition, whatever you want to call it, but it is here in our bellies,
yes.
and we can feel it. And I call this the soul communication,
Mm-hmm.
because the soul, I feel like, is right in here, and that it's like almost like a heart that is rooted, and it pulls down and it lifts up,
Mm-hmm.
right? It expands all throughout us. But we can feel it when we're out of sorts, when we know the truth, and that truth is leading us in a way of protection.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what that truth is doing. No matter the circumstance around us, what we perceive, that truth is leading us into more love.
Mm-hmm.
And I like what you were saying about, the Bible. There's a couple things that came up for me, is that the word good, right? Good is a comparison word.
Mm-hmm.
Good, better, best. Good is singular. Better is comparison of two. Better is a comparison of three or more. When you compare, there is always going to be um, inferior, something that's perceived as inferior, and another one is superior. Okay, one greater, one lesser. That's what a comparison does.
Mm-hmm.
So in doing that, it removes good from saying for whatever is even good,
Mm-hmm.
because then you're now there's one that the comparison facilitates that.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you say, like, I like to sing. I love to sing, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And someone heard me singing just recently. This is my honesty. And I said, oh, I don't sing or I can't sing as good. And I said, you know what? I have to stop that. I said, let me stop saying that, because it doesn't matter. I'm putting myself down by
Yeah.
saying that. And it was then in that moment that I realized I keep putting myself down about something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to compare myself to other
Mm-hmm.
people.
Mm-hmm.
And yay, now I see that was actually self-love.
Mm-hmm.
I want to point our time. It's 7:39. We got on the line. I want to, we said we're going to get off about 7:45, 7:50, but or start moving in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay with opening up? I want to see if anybody else here,
Yeah.
if they
If
want to
anybody has any
say,
questions.
join in, or any hallelujah, testify, I agree, I relate to that. that means more to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Of noble kind. Who is of noble kind? Is that our girl Elizabeth?
no, that's my oldest daughter, Elisa.
That's your daughter. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And we have Amanda still here.
Yes, that's my girl.
Yes. And you know, Amanda and I met, she may not even remember this, but Amanda and I met um, in Claremont. We met at a Claremont women's event. It might have been her sheet stories. I'm not too sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely attended those pre-COVID when we were able to do that. Yes. So just thinking about that with showing up, not comparing ourselves to one another, being compassionate towards ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you said you remember. That's good. Hey, Amanda. Yes, yes, Amanda Ramsey. You are a go-getter. You're a very impressive woman who manages a lot. Manages a lot. I mean, more than the norm. You sing, right? You also, I think, are for like, if I recall, kind of like evangelist or preacher. You're a teacher in your own way, and she has her own channel. And Chermel also shares on her channel once a month with She Stories. Is that right? Am I saying it correctly?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, you know, we are here in the wellness field and wanting to better ourselves so we can help better other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that. She does it with style and grace.
Yes. Yes. All that. Just eat.
Just eat.
When we say could, should, and would, it takes away our time to be. I want to encourage people to be aware and to give yourself grace when you hear that, because I said this sometime before. How can I blame myself, or how can someone blame me for not knowing to do what I just learned was the better way to do it?
That's it. I like to say one of my mindsets now that I have is I'm approaching things not childish but childlike. You know what I mean? Meaning that I'm mature. But there's when you think about a child when they first learn how to do things, you're not super critical. You give them that grace, you give them that that space to learn and to grow, right? And so when I'm approaching something that I have yet to learn how to do, I'm going to approach it in a childlike manner, and I'm going to treat myself as such. I'm going to acknowledge the small wins, just like when a baby learns how to walk, that first step is amazing, right? It's like that's huge. And so the fact that you take this first step, and I had to go through that process even when I wrote this book. And I really, because I am, I'm a perfectionist. I'm recovering. I'm not a perfect. I'm recovering. But even with this book, I had to kind of tell myself, you know what, you've never written a book before. You know what I mean? Just write it down. Write what it is. Put it out there. You know what I mean? And from there, you can grow, but you cannot just not do it because you don't, because you've never done it before, and you don't want to be super hard on yourself about doing it, but give yourself grace, give yourself, the space to be able to grow and to learn. And so,
there's a question. Do you see it?
Yeah. What are some of the ways you can give yourself grace when in unresolved conflict? Okay. I'm not sure if I understand. What do you like? Do you understand the question? Can you help me understand?
Yeah. What I'm hearing is that during those times,
Unresolved conflict.
when you are in unresolved conflict with someone or someone else, bring yourself back to your root system of what you believe. And if your root system is that you believe that God is love, that you are love, and that other person is love. Believe that love will facilitate. God gives you grace. You're giving grace to yourself. You're learning how to give grace to someone else. God forgives you and releases you from any debt. We're learning how to release and let go of other people during those debts. And so sometimes that's the way of giving, being in a state of grace. And allowing yourself that time when you're in the space of the conflict, it's the surrender that helps you to understand. Plus, as God talks, bring your prayers and supplications. Supplications being, this is what I'm thinking. These are my thoughts. And I think about that. I wrote about it a little bit in the blog post called Have Faith. You could check it out on my website, loveandlightness.us. And I talked about how, when I'm thinking about Martha and Mary right now, and when their brother Lazarus died, they both said, well, Jesus, if you were here, this wouldn't have happened. That's what they thought. And then they spoke their faith. But we know you can. But we know you will. So in that, I think it's important to acknowledge where you are. Don't act as though you don't have a problem, that you ain't mad, that you're irritated. Get away a little bit from it so that you're not so charged with the conflict. And if that means whatever so that may be, mine could be, I have to relate, I have to get in touch with my breath. And so however way I do that is sometimes while I'm walking, I'll turn it into a walking meditation and a prayer where I breathe in 4 times, exhale 4 times, breathe in 4 times. And as I'm actually breathing, I really start glorifying God because I'm lighter in my head. I'm lighter. My breathing is lighter. And I start calling God into each breath and acknowledging that God is in each breath. You are making me lighter, Lord God. You're breathing in peace into me, Lord God. Breathe into me. Breathe on me, Lord. Breathe into me what it is you would have me to know, Lord God. Holy Spirit, intercede on my behalf because I'm not sure what to do. And then there is that needing or being patient, but with expectancy that your prayers are going to be answered. And that expectancy, then you will be able to give more and to know how to move. But remind yourself that your root is that I am love, God is love, this other person is love. I'm going to move through this in love. And if you believe that God makes all things beautiful in His time, then you will know. Peace.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think it's just important to value your feelings, right? Value them, value your feelings, and really work to not hold any type of anger or any type of grudges, anything that would taint you, and not allow you to freely be the love that you are and the love that you deserve to receive, and so you don't want to put a lock on yourself in that, but just really try to release and really value, and again, Amanda, we always talk about community, right? So valuing your feelings. So even if you need to have some support around you to kind of support you in that way, to provide safe space, outside of you being able to provide it for yourself. But yeah.
That's good. She said yes and heads up. So I'm glad you asked your question and you feel satisfied that you've been given an answer that is good for you.
Yeah.
This is us showing up is an act of self-care and self-love because we are caring to love on ourselves enough to be better, to improve. And we know that is good.
Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
So we're getting ready to close out. Chermel, do you have any last words?
Yeah, no, I just, one thing that I know is important sometimes, when we have been maybe not taught to engage in self-love, or we've been taught how sometimes we've been taught, we haven't been taught how to, and sometimes we've been taught not to engage in it, you know, by receiving critical or judgmental type of, you know, dialogue from somebody, or not being able to, you know, just be ourselves and make decisions and choices for ourselves in our own right, in our own, you know, being. There's a number of ways that maybe we've learned how to not engage in self-love. And the one thing that I would just say is, sometimes, if that is your case, sometimes you literally have to say to yourself, I give you permission. I give me permission to love myself.
Good.
Yeah.
I love that.
Give yourself permission to do it, because if you were not allowed to
That's
do
good.
it, then, you know, then you have to be able to crack open that barrier, to give yourself permission to go on the quest and to start to love yourself, and know that it's okay to do that. So
yeah, that's good. That's real good. Creating safety for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to piggyback on that and say journaling is a really great way to parent yourself. As Tina LaFleur would say, you have to parent yourself and find a way to be safe. Create a safe space. Be honest in your journaling. If you're not being honest in your journaling, you're not really going to get the benefits of it. So that's another goodie. So,
I agree. Yeah.
For the few who stayed here to the end, good for you, because one of you, I have this Expression-Based Depression shirt. It's a lot large, and I want to celebrate this. This is Wellness Month, and next month is Suicide Prevention Month, and every day is what? Self-Love Day. Yes. So I want to give this a celebration of loving ourselves. So if you like, you may send me a message and it will be gifted to you. Yeah, it looks like, Amanda, you're our last goodie, or our last person on here. There's one more person. Oh, we have Renee S. Love. You can send me a message too if you like it. I think I have too. So you ladies are both welcome to a shirt if you so desire. And we ask that you would be aware that Chermel's Guide to Love, Self-Love, is available at her website. And that website is, give it to him, girl.
Chermel, what is it? Williams.com.
That's right.
Yes.
And you can, when you go to her Facebook, you do say Facebook, TikTok, but Instagram, when you go to your Instagram page, click on the link in her bio, and you'll go straight there. Thank you, Amanda. We appreciate it. She said, thanks for enlightening us.
Thank you for being here with us.
Yes, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Nick, for being here with us as well. That's my other daughter.
Oh, great. I'm glad you felt it was amazing. Dana, we're just wrapping up here. You are welcome to listen to the message. We talked about self-love, differentiating between self-care and self-love, and how both are necessary, but you really can have, when you have self-love, you'll be winning over in self-care. Is that right, Chermel?
That's right. And let me say hi to Dan Thomas. That's my my coach. He coached me. He's an amazing coach. If you need some coaching, he will get you right.
What kind of coaching now?
Huh?
What kind of coaching?
He does business coaching. I don't know what else. He can probably tell you. I
Go to write in the comment, Dan.
Dan Thomas. He unlocks your what is it? Your brilliance or your blueprint. I don't want to mess up his spiel, but he's amazing.
Okay.
I did coach with him, and he's amazing. He really helped me, and so he's phenomenal. So if you need some coaching,
we do need that guidance sometimes. Nothing wrong with seeking or getting help, because we need that to help get over some of these things and to be in a safe space to be able to help us to overcome childhood trauma or times when we've been told no, and we need to be able to give ourselves that permission. If you're struggling with that, seek help. There is licensed therapists, there's free counseling. Chermel has given us the resource before for Psychology Today, available online, lots of helpful information. But keep getting rooted and grounded and seeking communities and places and people to where you can be safe, and be sure to make yourself a safe place too.
Yes. See you guys next month. We'll be back on the 4th Thursday next month. Is it the 3rd? Or
it may be the 4th. The 4th Thursday next month is actually my birthday. So I'm thinking,
well, we'll be back next month sometime.
We'll be back next month. And if there's something you want to hear from us, it's still going on about self-love and caring for ourselves and how we can better love ourselves and one another. Thank you, Chermel.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.